The Chicago Midwest chapter of the National Academy of Television Arts and Sciences presents the 2025 Silver Circle Honors Ceremony. You are about to meet the men and women who have thrived, excelled, and innovated as television professionals. More than 25 years of service to the television industry, significant contributions to Chicago broadcasting, excellence in television in front of the camera and behind the scenes. It's time to honor the best of the best. Our host for the evening wears many hats for NBC5 News. She is the multi-award-winning political reporter, religion reporter, a key member of NBC5's investigative team, and 2017 Silver Circle honoree, Mary Ann Ahern.
Hello, everyone. Good evening. Welcome to the 2025 Silver Circle Honors. It is certainly my pleasure to host an event that celebrates the best in our business. As we begin this evening, let's ask our scholarship recipients and Student Production Award winners to stand for one more round of applause for a job well done as they pursue their television careers. Great job. Later in the program, we will treat you to the highlights of several Crystal Pillar winning entries. From our television stars of the future, we now honor our peers who have made significant contributions to the craft of television and related arts while setting a remarkable standard of excellence for those of us who follow. Our first Silver Circle honoree is former NBC News anchor reporter and former Dateline correspondent, Rob Stafford. Rob has an impressive collection of national and regional Emmys, along with countless other recognitions. Here to present Rob is his former colleague and good friend, NBC5 anchor, Allison Rosati.
Thank you, Mary Ann. Hi, everyone. Can I just say you look beautiful tonight? And what an incredible night this is to celebrate so many deserving journalists. And what a joy for me to get a chance to present this Silver Circle Award to my dear friend, Rob Stafford, and to also honor his amazing career. Before I begin, I would really like to thank Lisa and all of your beautiful children for sharing you with us for so many years. I don't know what I ever did to get so lucky to work with Rob Stafford, but I am forever grateful for the blessing of Rob coming into the NBC family. And next to me for 13 years on the NBC5 News at 5, 6, and 10. It is a rare thing to work side by side with someone every single day and never run out of things to talk about. And believe it or not, we never fought. We had so much fun. Rob is truly the best. In fact, if he were a sitcom, it would be called Everybody Loves Rob. Ask anyone in our newsroom, and they will tell you Rob is loved, respected, and appreciated, and so missed. I have so many hellos from everyone in the newsroom tonight that can't be here. And his humor is legendary. Think Bob Newhart, dry, subtle, sneaks up on you right before the camera's gonna go on. Every day, Rob made work so much fun, even when it was hard, and he made all of us better. He was like the older brother you wanted to be like. Well, older brother to most of us, just not Brant. Rob Stafford is a man of integrity, high standards, and kindness, and that's what makes him an incredible journalist. Over the years, I witnessed Rob help so many young journalists get their start with internships and then also help them possibly get their first job in the business. He mentored so many reporters in our newsroom, helping them improve their storytelling, and he did it quietly and with compassion and that humor that made them laugh. I also witnessed Rob's amazing heart, helping the homeless find shelter, raising money for charities like JDRF, and personally, when my mom passed away, Rob drove all the way to the middle of nowhere in northern Minnesota, which is north of North, and he showed up on the saddest day for me. And that's who he is, a guy who shows up for everyone. Rob, you are truly one of a kind, and we are all the better for knowing you. If you were a movie character, no doubt you would be George Bailey in It's a Wonderful Life, the richest man in town. And if you were a song, you would definitely be James Taylor's You've Got a Friend. Rob Stafford, thank you for being a friend to all of us and to the city of Chicago. And here is our best effort at trying to capture your amazing career.
A decade of Dateline. Rob Stafford with a Dateline exclusive.
You raped her and you robbed her of her freedom.
I didn't rape her.
Oh, come on.
An update to an Emmy Award-winning story Dateline first brought you a year and a half ago. Here's Rob Stafford with a Dateline exclusive.
How you doing?
Rob Stafford covered a lot of ground in his 40-year career, and a lot of water, too.
Going in. We're in.
Raised in a one-stoplight town in New Hampshire, Rob wanted to go where the action was. Journalism was a natural fit.
My parents drilled into all of us that you should give back and you should make a difference.
Rob landed his first job at the NBC affiliate in Duluth, where he met his professional competition and future wife, Lisa Danielson.
On the night beat, Rob Stafford.
They went on to Green Bay, then Orlando, and married in 1986.
Rugby, come on out.
Mystery
come on
guest
out.
Rob anchored a morning newscast in Central Florida and founded the station's award-winning investigative team.
9 months later, the same key still fits.
His hidden camera series on hotel crime led to a grand jury investigation and helped change hotel regulations in Florida.
Happy birthday.
Rob and Lisa started a family. First Trent, then Amory and Addie. The kids grew up in the suburbs of Chicago after WBBM came calling in '92.
Tonight, Rob Stafford with a question of faith.
In '96, Rob was offered his dream job, working for Dateline as a national correspondent based here in Chicago. He won 2 national Emmys for an investigation into military hazing and an hour special on the Elizabeth Smart case. He also earned a Murrow for his Dateline investigation into racial profiling.
One of the absolute highlights was working with Rob Stafford because he was so great to work with. Good journalist, very strong journalist, but also a great person.
Who gets in trouble the most?
Rob had a reputation for compassion and kindness, treating children with extreme challenges like they were his own kids.
That's...
Capturing moments and laughs that drew viewers in. Compassionate, but when necessary, confrontational, with a preacher accused of fleecing his flock.
When you got to the church here, did you tell people about your felony conviction?
No, I didn't.
A rapist minimizing his crimes against girls and young women.
You chained him to the floor.
Okay. It didn't hurt them.
The head of U.S. Customs trying to explain what a Dateline investigation uncovered.
If that's not targeting black women, what is it?
After 9/11, he followed a father to Ground Zero in search of his firefighter son.
Let's walk to the hotel and we'll find out.
During Katrina, Rob, also a dog lover, reported on the hundreds of pets left behind.
They're barking out the second floor window.
Good afternoon, everyone.
After a decade at Dateline, Rob joined me on the anchor desk at NBC5 in 2009.
He is a true newsman. He oozes credibility in a day when more and more opinions are available on the media and people are giving their thoughts on things. Rob was a straightforward guy. He was going to give you it fair, balanced, and accurate.
During Rob's 40-year career, he won 9 regional Emmys, 4 AP Awards, a Gracie, and too many others to mention. He continued his investigative work, starting a crime show on Peacock and still asking the tough questions.
Would you have let those people go to prison for something they didn't do?
No.
You sure about that?
But one of Rob's greatest battles came when he was diagnosed with a rare blood disease 7 years ago.
I look at this early diagnosis as a gift.
He underwent a stem cell transplant and came back 6 months later without missing a beat. He continues his treatment, is still in remission, and has been overwhelmed by the outpouring of support from friends, colleagues, and viewers. Rob left his mark in this newsroom and in this city by being true, a true family man, a true friend, and a true journalist.
For one last time, for all of my friends here at NBC5, I'm Rob Stafford. Thanks for watching, and good night.
Ladies and gentlemen, our first Silver Circle recipient of the night, Rob Stafford.
Never follow Allison Rosati. Thank you, Allison. That was unbelievably kind. And the tape, and thanks to Natus for the honor. I'm humbled by it, especially with this class of inductees. It's just an incredible group tonight. 43 years ago, I knew exactly who I wanted to be and where I wanted to work. I wanted to be Dan Rather at 60 Minutes. The trouble was, there was no opening at 60 Minutes that year for a 20-something who looked 18 and had no experience. I spent 6 months in a nationwide desperate search and landed one interview in Duluth, Minnesota. News director Mike Foley asked me a bunch of questions. I remember the last one. Son, do you want to anchor? I said, Mike, I do not. I just want to report. Honest answer. I just wanted to report. The two other guys up for the job must have said that they did want to anchor because I got the job and Mike was not just the news director, he was also the main anchor at the station. I don't think he was looking for a replacement. A note to the young people who are here tonight with the scholarships. The reason I did not want to anchor is because I was terrified of live television. I didn't want to do it. I just wanted to do long tape pieces like my hero Dan over at 60. The trouble with television is a lot of it is live. And my first live shot came in 2 weeks. Thank God that tape was destroyed mysteriously. I get to City Hall, and I interview a city councilor out in the hallway, ask one question. He takes the mic out of my hand, turns to camera, and speaks uninterrupted for 3 minutes in a 2-minute segment, as I stood frozen, not knowing what to do. I get back to the station. I'm sure Mike Foley's going to fire me. He should have. And he just goes, office. And I get in there, and he goes, and he liked me, but he was pissed. Never give up the mic. It's not your mic to give. It belongs to this station, represents this station, and never let City Hall tell your story. So I didn't do that again. So tonight, I want to thank Mike Foley. I don't know where he is. I've tried to find him, for not firing me and for spending the next 2 years teaching me how to do television. I got a lot of people to thank. I don't have the time to do it, so I want to just focus on some of the people here tonight. First, my family, all right here, table 2. The kids are trying to understand, why did Dad drive a car into a river? It was like a 90s sweeps thing, man. It's kind of dated, I know. Trent is here from Miami. His wife Erica's home, pregnant with our first grandchild. We are pumped. Yeah. Amory's here with her husband Harrison Pincus. Addie with her fiance Colin Rowe. We are so proud of you guys, not just because of your accomplishments, but because of the the humble, hardworking, kind people you are. And Mom gets all the credit. Lisa, I love you 40 years through thick and thin. Our moving truck arrived in Riverside from Orlando on January 9th, 1993. Phil Rogers knows the day. Snow's coming down, it's freezing out. My pager goes off. I call the desk at Channel 2, and they say, you get to Palatine, there's been a mass murder at the Brown's Chicken Restaurant. Terrible crime. And I just turned to Lisa and said, honey, sorry, I gotta go. And that was my tagline for most of my 40 years, 10 at Dateline, working nights the rest of the time. So thank you for doing all the heavy lifting and starting your own business, which is thriving to this day. Round of applause for Lisa Stafford. Frank Whitaker, we go all the way back to Channel 2. In 2006, Dateline cut back the number of shows and the number of correspondents, and I suddenly lost my dream job at the age of 49. You were the first person to call to help the next day, and you got me back in the game on weekends. I'm so thankful for that. Thank you, Frank. Larry Ward, you gave me my career back. You took a chance 2 years after that, putting me on the desk next to Allison. You gave me the chance to prove myself in a different venue and end my career on a high note. I'm very grateful for that, always will be. Kathy Singer, my producer at Dateline. You took me under your wing when I made the transition to network. And we did so many things all over the country. We covered so many stories. You're a good friend, always will be. Worst day was 9/11. The best was when Elizabeth Smart was found alive. Thank you, Kathy. Lisa Capitanini, my NBC5 producer, kept me in the investigative work. I'm so proud of the work we did together because we did it. It was really, we created our own team with Rich Moy and Ron and Nathan, and I'm really proud of the work we did. I'm sorry I never learned to type or spell. My apologies for that. And finally, to my fellow enemies of the people, thank you for what you do. I'm sorry you're under attack for doing your job, and nothing you do is fake news. When I came up through the ranks of my 40-year career, there was a wall around the newsroom. I never worried about it because the people at table 6 always protected us, and at every table here. And there is a crack in the wall in some of the newsrooms. I don't worry about our bosses, I worry about their bosses' bosses. And sadly, 43 years after I got into the business, there is now an opening at 60 Minutes for all the wrong reasons. The only thing I can say for sure is the reporters I know, the Marianne Aherns of the world, will never give up the mic and will never let the government tell their story. Thank you for the honor. It means the world to me and my family.
Now you know why we miss him. Our next honoree is a television director who is described as a perfectionist with a work ethic few can match. Deborah Zimmer's clear vision from the director's chair has been a guiding light for CBS 2 for more than 3 decades. Here to present Deborah is CBS 2's managing editor, Beth Freeling. Beth?
Hi, everybody. Before I start, I want to thank Jim and the fellows who rigged up this light because at the last minute I was panicking and said I couldn't see my speech. Rob told me he had memorized his, and I'm like, oh my God. So I'm Thank you very much, and I'm sure Deborah thanks you as well. Anyway, 30,000. In her 46-year career, Deborah Zimmer directed nearly 30,000 programs. Just think about that. Most live, newscasts, sporting events, a children's program, even a variety show. Deborah, imagine how many lives you touched during those decades. And you touched mine in 1994. There are relationships in broadcasting that are supposed to work: anchor teams, reporter and photographer duos, and producer and director. When I came to WBBM as the new producer in 1994, Deborah was the director, I was the new kid, and she took me under her wing. We worked side by side, and she always had my back. I mean always. Missed time shows, she bailed me out. Hitting David Letterman on time shouldn't have been that hard. Broken tape machines, no problem. A certain well-known anchor whose first name is Bill would take his IFB out of his ear when I was telling him to hurry, and she would find a way to get him to rap. Throughout her career, Deborah won numerous Emmys. She championed a push for directors to be added to the Emmy category for breaking news. But Deborah's true legacy is one of trailblazer and champion of women. 50 years ago, there were few female directors. She tackled discrimination from men who thought she shouldn't be wearing a headset. Was her goal to break that barrier? No, she just wanted to follow her dream. A dream that started on a visit to a TV station with her grandmother when she was just 8 years old. As you will see, that dream took her to Cincinnati, Cleveland, San Francisco, and finally Chicago and WBBM TV. Many thanks to Alfredo Roman for his magical editing, and we begin with former meteorologist Steve Baskerville.
We're ready to go.
Hello, I'm Steve Baskerville. I worked with Deborah Zimmer for 30 years. Wait a minute, is this the wrong camera? It should be this one. Is you? You. This is the reason why you need an ace director who has your back and makes you look good. Deborah had perfect timing, a knack for anticipating the next best shot, and troubleshooting. Former WBBM anchor Linda McLennan, take it from here.
Should I say action?
We worked together for almost 16 years here, and you were always the consummate pro. You were unflappable.
220.
Were you always like that?
No, I was always like that, always. And if I stay calm, everybody would around me to be calm. But I could always tell when I would raise my voice and say something very stern and direct. I watched the cameras go boop. The camera guys would be, oh, woke them up, woke them up.
But it wasn't all that funny. When Deborah graduated from Ohio University and got her first full-time directing job at WOWK-TV in West Virginia, that first day was a doozy.
Moved out of the house. I had my apartment. I was so excited.
But the person who hired her had some bad news.
I don't want you to worry, because that's the first thing you don't want to hear on your first day of job.
No.
But all of our men called off sick.
Those guys had all called in because
they didn't want to work with a woman. You know, it was the days where the philosophy of theirs was keep the broads out of broadcasting. We didn't know how to do it. We weren't, trained well enough as they would be. And I didn't have camera people. I didn't have audio. They didn't have film. And I was there by myself. I don't know how that anchor got through that newscast.
But it got on the air.
It got on the air.
That's incredible.
As one of the very few women directing newscasts on television, Deborah faced a very high glass ceiling throughout much of her career. But each time she proved she knew exactly what she was doing. But it was her mom who kept her going after that terrible first day.
And she says, well, I want to tell you that you can come home. And I need to tell you, this is not about you, but I have to tell you, you are the one that can do it on your own, get out there, learn your craft.
For From there, she moved to WLWT in Cincinnati.
A gorgeous day today, and temperatures have risen rather nicely into the low 70s.
It was WKYC in Cleveland, and working with Al Roker. At KGO in San Francisco in the 80s, when directing pool coverage of the visit of Pope John Paul II, gave her a memory she will never forget. A Secret Service agent's tip led to a shot of the Pope picking up a little boy with AIDS.
It was such a touching moment to capture that, and it was a shot that was seen around. It led every newscast throughout the world.
She moved to WBBM in 1988 and worked with Lester Holt.
Deborah, congratulations on your induction to the Silver Circle. You truly deserve it.
Bill Curtis, Walter Jacobson, Carol Marine, and so many anchor teams, reporters, and colleagues behind the scenes.
Maker's Life is hard, dissolve.
Those newscasts directed in the old control room in Streeterville,
Last day for Taste this year. We'll be back at 4:30.
plus live remotes like this one at the Taste of Chicago in 1988. Reporter Bob Wallace going behind the scenes.
Deborah Zimmer Smith, who's directing. 30 seconds.
Wow, this brings back memories.
And in the brand new one at Block 37.
Deborah led WBBM through several set renovations. And how about all the technology changes through the years? From film all the way to digital.
What makes a good director in this day and age?
Understanding the technology. I mean, it's simply, you cannot fake it. Can I just hit one button?
Absolutely.
Where's the take button anymore?
It's blown out because we use it so much, but it's right there.
It certainly was my goal and my quest to just keep trying to make a difference. Not only for myself, the people that I worked with, but the viewers.
We're gonna miss you, Deb.
Yes.
It's cold.
Thank you very much.
It was in January 2019 she hung up her headset for good, directing her last newscast.
See you, everybody.
Do you want to do a picture now? Oh. They're a producer directing, and yeah, come on. Thank you. I can't thank Beth enough and her editor, Alfonso Roman. They put this together remarkably. They had absolutely no video. We sold our house last year in Lakeview, and we decided I would get rid of everything. You don't need to have 50 years of stuff lying around that you don't need anymore. A few weeks ago, I went to see my general practitioner and had to do the cognitive tests at my age. You remember person, woman, man, camera, TV. I did okay, but nevertheless, she was asking me, how are you doing? I said, I'm starting to have some work nightmares. I'm receiving this wonderful honor, and it took me to a place where I had to go over 50 years of stuff, and I would wake up saying, Walter, keep reading, keep reading. Or then I would say, what do you mean you don't have the videotape? And she said, what do you have, PTSD? And I said, no, it's TVSD, TV stress disorder. Anyway, please forgive me. I'm going to read because I'm not an on-air person, and I can't certainly remember things other than unless they're in front of me, which most is true about TV directors. When I walked into that control room 50 years ago, little did I know the first step would lead me to nearly 5 remarkable decades working in television. Seeing a woman in the director's chair wasn't exactly commonplace back then, and one of the few broads in broadcastings with sights set firmly on acceptance in the chair, I quickly learned I wasn't alone. There were many talented directors, some sitting right here, Ron Vassar and over where Cheryl is. that had the same vision. Along with Black, Hispanics, Asian, and others of color, LGBTQ, together we embarked on a journey filled both with significant hurdles and deeply rewarding triumphs. And we made a little history along the way. Directing live newscasts was an experience unlike any other. It was exhilarating to be in the thick of it, shaping the narrative as it unfolded, the constant dance with last-second changes, the controlled chaos of the control room. It wasn't easy at times, and times extremely stressful. Yet somehow, night after night, day after day, we got it on the air. Maybe not always with the polished perfection some vision, but always with the knowledge we poured our best into every broadcast. And this brings me to the heart of my gratitude to all who stood alongside me, especially here in Chicago at WBBM CBS 2, to the directors whose collaborated efforts, skills, and dedication were crucial to the success of every broadcast, to the incredible talented members of the technical crews, from the control rooms to the studios and the playback and transmissions, all of the unsung heroes who made the magic happen. They had my back. To the newsroom, the journalists, producers, writers, photographers, the crews in the field, the editors, the anchors and reporters from A to Z, Adam Lee to Zekman, and every single talented individual in between, thank you for trusting me with your careers, and for your shows, and for the thousands of newscasts we brought to life together. I deeply admired your dedication, artistry, and inspiring work. Thank you for your collaboration, and thank you for your support. To my cherished family and friends, those who so often had to celebrate birthdays, holidays, and countless family events, and a lot of births, without my presence, thank you. Thank you for your unwavering understanding, but most of all, thank you for understanding the burning desire within me to follow my dream, to succeed in the director's chair. Your support fueled my journey. To the Academy, my sincere gratitude and appreciation to be inducted into the Silver Circle, to stand alongside such esteemed company. By the way, 3 of you I've directed, Rob, Diane Burns, and Dan. To be inducted into the Silver Circle is such a truly profound honor, a pinnacle moment in the career I would have not traded for anything. It is without doubt an honor of a lifetime. Thank you all.
And up next, we will honor anchor reporter Diane Burns. Diane successfully made the transition from print to become a highly respected Chicago television news anchor, first at WLS and then at WBBM. Diane's presenter tonight is the brilliant sports writer, formerly of the Chicago Tribune, author of a dozen books, and adjunct professor at DePaul University, Fred Mitchell.
Good evening, and it's so fantastic for me to see so many familiar faces and join you in saluting all of the 2025 inductees. I am thrilled and extremely privileged to present my longtime friend and legendary Chicago newscaster, Diane Burns, for induction into the Silver Circle. Our journalism careers in Chicago overlapped for a large portion of time. And while the essence of her work was in news and features, it certainly was not unusual to spot Diane smiling into the camera with a microphone stuck in the face of the irascible Mike Ditka or otherworldly Michael Jordan or other prominent sports figures in our city. And I often would be right beside her, watching and listening to her ask the tough questions. It turns out Diane got her start in professional journalism by covering sports for a small newspaper in her hometown of Cleveland, Ohio. Since I left the Chicago Tribune in 2015 after 41 years, I've been teaching sports journalism at Northwestern University and now DePaul. And Diane has been a guest speaker for my classes with plenty of sage advice and personal anecdotal experiences. She shares my passion for giving back to the next generation of journalists. In our personal conversations over the past couple of years, Diane and I have tried to solve all of the issues confronting both the newspaper and television industry these days. And we have plenty of advice, and we conclude that we have much more to offer when given the opportunity. So with that said, let me introduce Diane Burns with her video in acceptance. Thank you.
You could tell from the beginning, there's just something about her.
Hi, I'm Diane Burns.
A spark, a presence. The headlines say, why her? The reviews said she was born for this job. She started in New York while still in college.
Officials are blaming police for this.
She went where others didn't.
Already a sensitive time. Kids are learning about who they are and about sexuality.
Made it on merit with grace and grit.
Generation, girl power can be a punch out, even a vicious mob attack. We want to know what's behind the rage.
9 Emmys. It never felt like work.
Kind of goofy.
Kind of goofy, that's right.
Ask a kid. She'll travel to shop. And you better erase this tape when you're done. You know, he's starting to cuss like you on the air.
I want to find the person that said miraculous sentence.
Shelley.
I want to strangle him.
Fans got that lovey feeling. You like that touch? Some bugs out there give bugs a bad name.
But if Jerry were here, he
Hello, IRS. Yes, Mr. Greco.
That's why Jerry is gone. I'm John Drury.
Was it good? You liked it, yeah. I'm Diane Burns. Thanks for joining us. Good night.
Soon, Diane was immersed in Chicago life. She loves this city.
We're part of the community. We have the same interests as you.
And Chicago loves her back. Diane, big smile, even bigger hair. And yes, people were really into her hair. Roots in the theater and a mark on the big screen.
As it continues to unfold throughout the day. Now, what we do know right now is that at approximately 11:08 this morning,
A storyteller, a listener, compassionate.
I'll have an update in a few minutes with new details about the shooting and how investigators have recovered the Bulls championship ring Michael gave to his father. Reporting from Lumberton, North Carolina, Diane Burns, Channel 7 Eyewitness News.
John, House Speaker Dennis Hastert spoke on behalf of Congress today to denounce the terrorist attack.
In our coverage with the explosion by going live to the scene.
Drama. Timing is everything, they say, and the ramifications are huge. The Weather Service has issued a heat advisory for tomorrow.
There when it mattered. Then and now. A leader. Trusted. Trailblazer. Timeless. Diane Burns.
Diane gives countless presentations on topics like how television news can modernize using, among other things, artificial intelligence. She is making 4 of those presentations this week and took time out to record her acceptance speech.
Good evening, everyone. I already know you're having a good time. I'm happy to be joining you from across the way. Thank you for including me in the Silver Circle. It means something to be part of this group at this moment. This is a reminder of a chapter that shaped so much of who I am. Congratulations to all of our honorees. I'm proud to be in your company. Thank you, Fred, for your warm introduction and for being so supportive and ready to talk about anything and everything at any time. And yes, our podcast would be fire. To everyone who helped put this event together, especially Jim and Rebecca, I wore them down. Thank you. A special shout out to Rondell, Ryan, Brian, ABC7, and CBS2. I wore them down too. Thank you. You helped put the video together. Wow, so many memories. Blockbuster news days, late nights, just the energy in the newsroom, and the joy of telling stories that matter to people. So what am I up to? I am crushing it on the tennis court. I picked it up to relax, but honestly, I think I made it worse. It's all about the trophy. I'm still consulting on special content and breaking news, and I'm developing a TV series and a film, because storytelling will always be my thing. Fred and Marianne mentioned I'm also part of an emerging field, using business analytics and artificial intelligence to help organizations modernize, grow stronger, more productive, smarter, and importantly, more sustainable. I love mentoring young journalists. I learn a lot just listening to them. So we were catching up one day and they were talking about how memory cards are so cumbersome. Then they asked me to conduct an archaeological dig at my house and bring in an artifact that they always wanted to see in person, the 3/4-inch tape. I had a comeback though. I said, tonight, when you're practicing your ABCs, notice how you cannot get from A to C without B. You should think about this too, because B is us. We are the bridge between A and C. We just know stuff, and we know where to find it. We're creative, enterprising. We win. Thank you again for including me in the Silver Circle, and I appreciate this night with you. Thank you.
We love to honor the people who make things happen behind the scenes. And one of the best ever is photojournalist Billy Jennings. I cry when I say that. As chief photographer, chief photojournalist, engineer in charge at NBC5, Billy is legendary for telling stories with his camera. Presenting Billy this evening is his former colleague, and perhaps more importantly now, his golf partner, Phil Rogers.
There will be more about the golf in just a moment. Good evening, everybody. It's so great to be back with our Chicago television family. I want you to know something. It is such an honor to talk to you tonight about Billy Jennings. When I walked into the NBC Tower for the first time in December of 1991, I was a fairly experienced reporter at that point, but I was brand new to television and they were taking a big risk on me. So the management there made a wise decision to pair me with some pretty seasoned and veteran photographers, one of whom was a young, gregariously friendly, he would want me to tell you, rakishly handsome ex-Marine named Billy Jennings. Now, what I quickly learned then and over our next 31 years together at NBC was with Billy, you got not only a great photographer, you got a great editor, a great broadcaster, a great journalist, a great field producer, an all-around ambassador of goodwill, and your lifelong friend. And I would also tell you proudly that Billy was my best friend at Channel 5. But if I said that, everyone back here at the NBC tables would say, hey, wait a minute, Billy's my best friend. He is extremely positive. He is insanely optimistic. He is so positive that when you play a round of golf with him, he will continually tell you how well he is playing. With the word, when you talk about Billy, the word best comes up a lot. He's the best photographer. He's the best broadcaster. He is a man of faith. He is intensely patriotic. He loves his family. And he was just the best partner any reporter could ever have. Now, I could tell you dozens of stories from all over Chicagoland and around the world. But Cheryl's back there somewhere, and she's going to be rapping me any second now. Cheryl, I can't see you. The light's too bright. Okay. We covered stories ranging from the Olympics in Beijing to a submarine base in Connecticut, and God knows how many stories on the streets of Chicago. And Billy reminded me this morning, or later, middle of the day today, that when George Ryan was in the news today, he was with me when George reported to prison in Oxford, Wisconsin. Now, time only permits me to actually tell you one story. Former Congressman Jesse Jackson Jr. is getting out of prison. Funny how we're talking a lot tonight about politicians that go to prison. He was being released to a halfway house in Maryland in 2015, and it was in a blinding rainstorm. Billy and I are there outside the halfway house. Congressman Jackson pulls up. It is raining walls of water. I mean, it's like we're shooting this in a car wash. We got the congressman in the rain. It's late. It's after 8 o'clock. It's after probably 9 o'clock on the East Coast. Then racing the clock, Billy stood editing that spot under the lift gate of a van in the street with water roaring between his feet in this torrential river as it continued to rain. He fed the spot. He set up the live shot. He shot the live shot in the rain, another one-handed catch in the ivy in television, and then we rejoiced that we'd done it again. Now, by the way, I've got a million stories like that, and again, I can't tell all of them, so I'm going to now defer to another person to tell one more story, and that person is our former boss, Frank Whitaker. For that, let's go to the videotape.
May 20th, 2012. At a NATO conference at McCormick Place, Chicago police face off against a massive crowd of angry protesters.
We had training sessions for our photographers and reporters. Be careful of yourself, don't get into harm's way. It was police, riot helmeted police, and it was a line, and the protesters, and the batons flying.
And there, in the midst of it all, the unmistakable flowing mane of Billy Jennings.
Billy wanted to be where the action was. He wanted to be in the middle of it. That particular day, that Sunday afternoon, they were right in the middle of it, and I think they loved it.
You might say Billy Jennings was born to do the news. His father, Jack Jennings, was a standout tackle for the NFL's Chicago Cardinals. His mother, Rita, an assistant in the front office of the Chicago White Sox. After a stint in the United States Marine Corps, Billy got his first exposure to Chicago media working in building maintenance for NBC at the Merchandise Mart. But he quickly rose through the ranks.
And he was my star pupil. And beyond that, he's the best at being a people person and putting out fires. Billy will kill to lend a helping hand to anybody.
Over 5 decades, Billy Jennings did it all. From network coverage of presidential campaigns to the syndicated Jenny Jones Show to the morning show at NBC's Streetside Studio 5. And of course, thousands of stories on the streets of Chicago and around the world.
Billy Jennings is so professional and so dedicated that he'd swim a pond of sharks to get you the shot you need.
Breaking news stories, Olympic shoots around the world, the guy is universally respected.
Billy Jennings does not know a stranger. If you are ever on a story with him, not only is he talking to you, he's talking to everybody, so he's helping you gather all of the details of the story.
Indeed, reporters at NBC5 knew that when you worked with Billy, he would not only get the shot, he would charm everyone in the process.
I think if you talk to the guys from the other stations, they'll tell you, same thing.
Oh, here's a better way to do this. Oh, here's a better way to do that. Oh, let's try this. That is what working with Billy Jennings is like. It's always this willingness to try things. It's this willingness to experiment. And it's also relying on years and years of knowledge that make those suggestions actually useful and actually interesting.
In the journalism textbooks, if you want to look up how a coworker becomes a family member, there would be a picture of me and Billy.
In January of 2006, Billy Jennings was promoted to chief photographer at NBC5. he helped move the station from tape to digital and led the way on not only daily news, but special events, ranging from election nights to auto shows to the annual production of the Chicago Marathon.
And I could go to Billy and say, here's what I want to happen, here's what I want to look like. And Billy was, I got it. And he went out and made it happen.
We're up at Wrigley Field. It's probably a week before the opening day. And Billy's up there just glad handing everybody, right? He's shaking hands, he's talking to everybody. And Tim Karras just looks over me because I swear the guy's the mayor.
Through it all, Billy did it with superb talent and a keen appreciation that we are all in this journey together.
But the most important thing about Billy is that there are countless people he has helped struggle through their sobriety. I think he is, well, he's my ward committeeman. I adore him.
I think there are 7 words to describe Bill Jennings. Great eye, fantastic work ethic, big heart.
Bill Jennings, a beloved pillar of Chicago's TV family, and now a member of the TV Academy's Silver Circle.
There's one Billy Jennings, and I'm so glad I know him.
Billy, I'm so damn proud of you. I love you. You're the best. Congratulations.
Ladies and gentlemen, will you please welcome to the Chicago Midwest chapter of the Television Academy's Silver Circle, Billy Jennings.
Good evening. Thanks, guys. Jesus Christ. First off, a sincere thanks to Ron Zahara and Phil Rogers for that video. That's something else, huh? A big thanks to the Academy for this distinguished honor, and congratulations to my fellow honorees. I'm truly humbled. The biggest thanks goes to my wife, Mary Phyllis, for her enduring patience in putting up with the ridiculous hours, last-minute cancellations, and most of all, the constant complaining on my part, always ending with, if NBC would just do things my way, which of course is the right way, everything would be just fine. For years, people asked, why'd you marry him? She actually lost a bet. She was always curious how our team could pull off huge television productions with success, and I still have to ask her every single time in the kitchen, where are the scissors? Thank you, baby, I love you. Abraham Lincoln Marovitz was a renowned federal judge here in Chicago. He was a United States Marine, as am I, and we were both members of the Marine Corps League and became good friends. Abe presided over our wedding, which was held in his museum-like chambers in the Federal Building. Anyone who knew the judge or heard him speak knows that he loved to talk and tell tales. He was just a wise old soul. I well remember him saying, any man that calls himself a self-made man is a liar. We all had help along the way. I had more than most. From the very beginning of my career, I was afforded opportunities that simply most didn't have. The greatest gift I received in my career were the people that the good Lord put in my path along the way. In 1984, I traveled the entire year on presidential campaigns. My producer extraordinaire, Susan LaSala, she told me to say that, is still a dear friend and taught me lesson number 1. Television is a people business. Treat people with respect and the way you would like to be treated, and it'll come back to you in spades. There are plenty of egos in our business, Billy. Just don't be one of them. I had to clean that up a bunch, by the way. Paul Nagaro was my mentor. Therefore, I was trained under the finest news photographer in the business. Along the way, I worked with some of the finest journalists of that era who did things the right way. I had the privilege to stand on the Great Wall of China, witness the fall of communism in Poland. I have danced the samba at Carnival in Rio. Yeah, that wasn't pretty. But Marianne Ahern and I attended the canonization of 2 popes in the Vatican. For years, I've had people that cared for me, loved me, forgave me, and always believed in me. I'm proud to say that this September I will have celebrated 22 years of sobriety. My journey that got me here tonight would not have been possible without Phil Rogers, Don Mosley, Carol Marine, Jan Golden, Ed Mann, Ray Taylor, Tricia Hawkins, Cowboy, and may I say, I'm just scratching the surface. I only hope that in some small way, I've been able to give back and pay forward to the exceptional young men and women that I have the great pleasure of mentoring through the years. Again, my heartfelt thanks for this honor and the pleasure of your company this evening. God bless.
No-brainer why I wanted to be here tonight, right? Tonight we also honor 2 very talented television professionals who are no longer with us. Our first posthumous honoree is Bernard Shaw, an anchor reporter who went from CBS to ABC and then to CNN, where he helped put the fledgling cable news operation on the map. What many of you might not know is that Chicago was the springboard to Shaw's remarkable career. Let's take a look.
The skies over Baghdad have been illuminated. We're seeing bright flashes going off all over the sky.
It was television history. CNN anchor Bernard Shaw, along with colleagues John Holliman and Peter Arnett, were reporting the start of the 1991 Gulf War in real time. The boys of Baghdad, as they would be known, were reporting from the floor of their hotel room with bombs exploding all around them.
Clearly, I've never been there, but this feels like we're in the center of hell.
Flashback 4 decades to a young Bernard Shaw growing up on Chicago's South Side. He attended Carter Elementary School, followed by Dunbar High School, where he excelled at baseball, swimming, and track. Shaw joined the Marines, and while serving as a message center specialist in Hawaii, he sought out news legend Walter Cronkite, who was there on assignment.
Right away, he said, "Mr. Cronkite, I have to talk to you. I have to be a journalist, and I have to find out how I do that."
Shaw learned how to be a journalist when he returned to Chicago. He attended the University of Illinois Chicago at its original Navy Pier location, earning a Bachelor of Arts degree. He worked as a news writer at WFLD-TV, then as a reporter for Westinghouse Radio in Chicago, where he had the good fortune of covering Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.
The one memorable thing he said to me was, "One day you're going to make it. Just do some good."
Shaw's newly found mentor, Walter Cronkite, helped him land a job at CBS News Washington Bureau in 1971. He covered the Watergate scandal before moving to ABC in 1977, where he was one of the first journalists to report from the horrific scene of the Jonestown Massacre. In 1980, Shaw moved to CNN as co-anchor of its prime news broadcast.
I'm Bernard Shaw. That's the latest from our Cable News Network Bureau here in Washington.
Over the next 2 decades, Shaw was in the forefront of making CNN a highly respected news gathering organization that could hold its own with the traditional news networks.
I came to cover a summit. I walked into a revolution.
Details are very sketchy at this moment. We are told that shots were fired at his party as he left the hotel. The first question goes to Governor Dukakis.
As you know, there's been an earthquake out here, at least 6.5 on the Richter scale. The most devastating story I've ever covered at CNN was the bombing of the federal office building in Oklahoma City.
Despite all his journalistic achievements, Shaw never lost touch with his roots. In 1991, he established the Bernard Shaw Endowment Fund at the University of Illinois Chicago, providing need-based scholarships that continue to this day.
Receiving this scholarship opened up a world of opportunities for me. It was life-changing. I am eternally grateful to Bernard Shaw for his kindness and generosity.
Shaw retired from CNN in 2001, loving the challenges of his career, but saying he had lost precious time with his wife, Linda, and their 2 children, and that he had suffered PTSD from his time in Baghdad.
You pay a price. I happen to believe it's a worthwhile price to pay, but you're going to pay a price.
Shaw died in 2022, leaving behind a journalistic legacy of curiosity, excellence, and trust.
Always steady, always solid, always trusted, and that to me is going to be his legacy. It was the "you can count on him" brand.
Bernard Shaw's widow, Linda, provided many of the photos from that video that you just saw. She already has received the framed Silver Circle Medal, thanks to the Academy for honoring her late husband. But she tries to remain out of the spotlight and deferred to one of Bernie's closest friends and colleagues to accept on his behalf. Ladies and gentlemen, on video, here's Wolf Blitzer.
On behalf of CNN and Bernard Shaw's family, I am honored to accept this award on Bernie's behalf. Bernard Shaw was one of the great television journalists of all time. He was a trailblazer in cable news, paving the way for many of us to follow. As one of CNN's so-called boys of Baghdad, Bernie was one of the only Western journalists to remain in Baghdad just as Operation Desert Storm and the Gulf War began. And when I arrived at CNN, he was a mentor for me at a time when I didn't know a lot about being a television news reporter. He took me under his wing and helped this print reporter at the time learn the ways of television. Most important, he was a great friend. I was honored to interview Bernie many times after he left CNN, and we all miss him dearly. Thank you to the Academy for bestowing this important award on our friend Bernard Shaw. May his memory be a blessing.
We also pay tribute this evening to a television talk show host pioneer, Phil Donahue. He shared the spotlight not only with his guests, but with his audience as well, building his talk show legacy by producing thousands of shows at WGN and WBBM before moving on to New York. Here is a video snapshot of his amazing career.
Legendary TV host Phil Donahue,
television icon,
staple, king of daytime television.
Anybody who turned on the TV when they got home watched this man.
Phil Donahue. Phil Donahue has died
at the age of 88.
TV2 of the Miami Valley, WLWD, Dayton, Ohio.
Hi, now you're on the air. Hello. We're coming to the cheap seats, so stay awake back there.
Stand for just a second.
We put the cameras behind the audience.
What did you want to say? Yeah.
Move the audience up close.
I believe that the homosexuality is a sin, yes.
Are you trying to tell me that my son is a lesser person because he's a homosexual?
We do not have a history of killing white people. White people have a history of killing us.
It is revealing.
This is my country, and I am an American.
It is messy.
I don't understand why we need prayer in school.
Whatever was really going on here, it is fantastic television.
We don't throw our color out at you.
You don't throw your color at me? Well, take that white Jesus off the wall. Tarzan, King of the Jungle, you made him white.
We are inside an abortion clinic in Chicago.
There's no way you can get the job because you are a female.
I began to hear the message, and I began to look at myself.
If we don't understand this behavior, we're never going to fix it.
City tonight. Anti-war protesters taking on the government. Is there?
This president used the politics of fear, and it worked.
MSNBC canceled it.
Fired for airing anti-war. These positions are radical. It's radical is to send more Americans to die in this war. For you want to send more people to this war? Don't sanitize the war. Tell the truth. I made this film because we haven't been.
I've got all kinds of information here about you in the newspaper. This is from the New York Post.
It must be true. We kicked very big tires.
Oh, Phil.
We fought City Hall. Along the way, we entertained, too.
Phil Donahue steered the nation's discourse and spoke to our better angels.
I just found these issues to be fascinating.
This show, Phil Donahue, is the very best there is.
Let me say something. Phil, sir, yes. Come down here. I'm going to kiss you on the lips. Come here.
You did it with intelligence, with class, and most important for those of us who stole your ideas, you did it first.
Here to accept on behalf of Phil Donahue is producer extraordinaire, the creative marketing director for the Donahue program, and 2024 Silver Circle honoree, Cindy Petrasso.
That was hard to watch and amazing to watch. Cheaters, wrong glasses. Thank you so much. Marlo Thomas sent a letter that she asked me to share with you all tonight. But before I do, I want to say what a privilege it was to be part of broadcast history in working for the Donahue Show. And I say this on behalf of all of us, including the Chicago team, some of us here tonight, and the entire Donahue Show family scattered across the country who participated in such an important effort, as was evidenced by what you saw earlier, and who are especially proud to have called such an incredible human being as Phil Donahue our friend. We were truly a family. And Phil always counted Chicago as part of that family. And he attributed, as he said many times, the Chicago years for the success of our show, that down-to-earth Midwest sensibilities of our audiences, and the work ethic of our incredible crews at WGN and at WBBM. And even when we did, you all may recall, because everybody in this room was touched by our show and Phil, we did Donahue on Today segments at NBC, and The Last Word for ABC after Ted Koppel on Channel 7, unmatched professionalism all over town. Phil used to say, "We are nowhere without you." No truer words, Phil. We were honored to have been part of it all, and I'm honored to share Marlo's words with you tonight. She says, "Thank you all so much for what I'm sure was a warm reception from my friend Cindy," thank you, who is not just accepting this award tonight on my husband's behalf, but is also a member of a very talented family of producers who were part of a revolution in television. I'm so sorry I couldn't be with you tonight, and I'm not going to make up a story that I had another engagement. The truth is, Phil only left us last August, and all my vibrant memories of him are still so fresh. And I didn't want to come all the way to Chicago just to cry in front of you. She left that to me. Thanks, Marlo. But that doesn't mean that I'm not thrilled about this prestigious honor of Phil being inducted into the Silver Circle of the Academy's Chicago chapter. This is the city where an up-and-comer from Ohio became a television icon and a touchstone for ideas that inspire generations of Americans. It is also, I might add, the city that played Cupid for me and my dear Irish lad. I was a guest on his show. We flirted outrageously and fell in love right there on the air. People always tell me that they could feel the chemistry through the screen. I sure could. It's equal parts touching and mortifying. And if I was with you tonight, this is where I'd be crying. Let's take a look. Roll tape.
Sorry that we are out of time. You are really fascinating. And
No, but you are wonderful. I said it when we were off there, and I want to say you are loving and generous, and you like women, and it's a pleasure. And whoever is the woman in your life is very lucky.
Well, thank you very much. Marlo Thomas stars in Thieves for Paramount Pictures, and we hope that you have a nice day. Goodbye, everybody.
Thank you.
See, Marlo says. But tonight isn't about me and Phil. It's about your acknowledging the powerful presence of Philip John Donahue as a pioneer who transformed daytime TV. Grabbing a mic and sprinting through the seats, he gave us our first look at a studio audience. We had heard them laugh. We had heard them clap before. But Phil was the one who showed us who they were. And he brought to that daytime audience what Ralph Nader called the only town hall on television, where every topic, every movement, every major thinker had a voice. And all 29 years of it still exists on tape. And in this age of disappearing history, that is a very comforting fact. And so on behalf of Phil and myself, I thank the Chicago Midwest chapter of the National Academy of Television Arts and Sciences for this glorious induction. I thank Cindy for bringing my words to you tonight, and I thank all of you for being what Phil Donahue truly loved the best, an engaged audience. God bless all of you. Thanks.
Before our final two honorees of the evening, let's take a look at a few highlights from the fantastic high school winning video entries. There were 22 Crystal Pillar winners in 20 categories this year. They were all great videos, but we just don't have time to show highlights from all of them. Here's a sampling that will give you a good idea of the wide variety of categories that the students tackled.
What's crack-a-lackin' HHS?
I'm Addison Zay.
And I'm Parker DeSimone. Today is Friday, January 24th, 2025.
And you're watching this week's episode of
Raider Nation News.
After I was released from the hospital, the doctors called and they said I had hereditary angioedema. Now, hereditary angioedema is a rare and debilitating disorder. Now, that causes spontaneous swelling all throughout my body, whether it's the face, feet, hands, intestines, genitals, or even the throat.
The phone call that we got said, we're really sorry to tell you that he has hereditary angioedema. Like I said, I'm being a nurse. I didn't even know what that was.
Competing at the Olympics was a very surreal experience. The venue was at the Grand Palais in Paris, which was extremely beautiful. Definitely the coolest place that I've ever competed in.
It's a once-in-a-lifetime trip. It's really just amazing watching all of the top-level athletes in the world training in the same spot. They're all there for one reason and one reason only, which is to win the Olympic gold. So the intensity is definitely something that I haven't experienced before, but it was just a pleasure being able to watch the top-level coaches, fencers, and get to know everybody.
For our club, we celebrate the African American culture within here in Matea.
But we also welcome every other student you can think of because it is unity and excellence. So we just want to draw in all different cultures, genders, races to band together and be excellent.
For the assembly, we were just trying to bring that culture to life, to show everybody else what goes on in our club, how we're representing the African American culture.
name is Malak, and I was born deaf.
Nana? Black.
Being the first deaf in my family was very difficult. It was really hard for me to understand and really look what's going on in my family. I was told that I wasn't be able to hear when I was growing up, but fortunately I proved them wrong. You're gonna think I'm stupid, but
I'm not.
my mom and I, we used to do this thing. She says that burning it helps to get its message into the world. I want him to know that we're still thinking of him.
Hell no.
Lovers keep on loving, while believers keep on believing. Sleepers just stop sleeping, 'cause it won't be too long. I'm so darn glad he let me try it again, 'cause my last time on earth I lived a whole world of sin. I'm so glad that I know more than I knew then. I'm gonna keep on trying till I reach the higher ground.
Once again, congratulations to our high school production award winners and the scholarship recipients. Let us continue our applause also for our VIP table sponsors, ABC7 Chicago, CBS News Chicago, NBCU, Local Chicago, and the Jiggets family. Next up, for more than 3 decades, ABC7's news team thrived under the leadership of Jennifer Graves. Rising to the position of Vice President of News, Jennifer radiated a culture of fairness, dedication, and news excellence. Here to present Jennifer is ABC7's former general manager, retired president CEO of Graham Media Group, and 2016 Silver Circle honoree, Emily Barr.
This light is really helpful. Thank you for having it put in. So back in May of 1998, WLS was faced with a bit of a crazy situation. Our news director had abruptly left to go over to Channel 5. I think there's at least one person in this room who remembers this. And a number of folks from Channel 7 followed. The sudden exodus sort of freaked me out. But one person made me realize everything was going to be fine, and that was Jennifer Graves. At the time, Jennifer was the evening EP on the top-rated 10 o'clock newscast, and she told me she was very loyal to Channel 7 and would keep the trains running on time, and I could lean on her for anything. Her sincerity and commitment truly impressed me, so much so that I wound up offering her the assistant news director position, because that one was open too, even before we hired a news director. And then about 3 years later, we found ourselves again looking for a news director, and I knew without a doubt Jennifer was up for the challenge. It was the best promotion I could ever have made. Jen and I worked together for just over 15 years, and little known fact, we were also across the street neighbors for a brief while, which made for very easy mail delivery when one or the other of us was pregnant. What blew me away about Jennifer was her incredible gut for knowing when to go after a story. Her unbelievably organized brain could monitor countless reporters, resources, photographers, logistics, all while guiding producers and writers who were stacking shows and making sure we were delivering verifiable facts. That newsroom in those days broke a lot of major stories and had a loyal audience, and much of it was thanks to Jen's leadership. Now, as we all know, running a newsroom can be relentless and exhausting, but Jennifer never took her foot off the gas. She was tough and focused and probably, in fact, I think surely, harder on herself than anyone else could ever be. I used to actually worry a little bit about Jen's work ethic, that it was actually a little too intense. But as her wonderful children, Charlotte and Madeline, grew, I watched her deftly juggle parenting and one of the most demanding careers out there. And she always did it with grace and intelligence and the unwavering support of her amazing husband, Stephen. Jennifer, you are incredibly deserving of this wonderful honor, and I know you probably don't even believe it, but you absolutely are, so congratulations. And let's go to the videotape.
When you're the news director of a 24/7 operation, you're never, ever off the clock.
A small-town girl with a big city story. Jennifer Graves grew up in downstate Belleville, which is just outside of St. Louis.
I went off to journalism school and then landed that first job, and many years later ended up in Chicago, and it's been wonderful.
Jennifer recently retired from ABC7 Chicago after 32 years at the station, leading as news director for an unprecedented 23 years.
To think about all the people that she has touched in Chicago, through her leadership, informing people about what's going on, keeping people safe, keeping people entertained, it's really remarkable. I think this city is better for her leadership.
Her high standards have helped keep ABC7 Chicago at #1 throughout her entire tenure.
You have held the #1 news operation as a news director for longer than any news director ever in Chicago television. Take a little credit for it.
Jennifer is by far the most successful, accomplished news director in the entire country.
She inherited a #1 operation. The challenge for her was to keep it there. That's not easy because expectations are very high. And she managed to do that through all those years. That's remarkable to me.
Well, it's not my success, it's our success, and it's the success of the team.
When you talk to Jennifer, you'll find that often she reflects the success of ABC7 back on the people who are working for her. And to her credit, that is partially true as a team sport, but the reality is, if you don't have a good leader who's steering you from the top, it doesn't work very well at all.
I think what's given me the most joy through all these years is playing a small part in hiring people, promoting people, or just working with people and watching their careers take off and grow.
She's hired almost everybody here, right? I mean, to a point. And that's the legacy that we'll carry on, because a lot of us aren't going anywhere, right? We're still here, and we'll keep doing, hopefully we'll continue to make her proud even after she's gone.
Among her greatest accomplishments is being a wife and mother of twin girls.
I'm proud that my daughters were able to see a woman going to work every day and having an influential position and showing them that anything's possible.
What did it do for women in particular who could see what she accomplished and say, maybe someday that could happen to me if I'm willing to work that hard, if I'm smart enough to do that, if I am dedicated enough to do that, and you can achieve what Jennifer did, and that's pretty spectacular.
She's not only an amazing journalist, but also a really amazing mom. And it's definitely inspiring to see her, all that she's accomplished in her career as we're entering our careers and beginning, being in the workplace. She's a great, example for us to follow.
Jennifer, what is your best advice for the next generation of journalists?
Stay curious, practice your writing, because at the heart of it, people want to hear stories. I think no matter how we deliver those in the future, I think at the heart of it is a connection through a story.
you. Wow, thank you, Emily, for that really warm welcome. And I think it's safe to say I wouldn't be standing here without your mentorship and your friendship through the years. You took a chance on me all those years ago, and I'm just forever grateful for that. I want to thank the Academy for the honor, and congratulations to all my fellow honorees tonight, and tonight's high school award winners and nominees. When I first came to Chicago in 1992, I remember coming to this event and being in awe of the history of broadcasting in Chicago, and now to be a small part of that is really, really, really quite overwhelming. Thanks to my colleagues at ABC7, led by President and General Manager John Idler and VP of News Doug Whitmire. John, thanks for your unwavering support for both me and the news team. And to the news team, you guys are the best. Your commitment to Chicago shows every day. And it was really my privilege to be part of the ABC7 family. I want to give a special shout out tonight to ABC7's Roz Varon. Roz recently has established the Sarah Jans Memorial Take Your Shot Scholarship in honor of her beloved daughter, Sarah. And I encourage all of you to check it out. There's a lot of information on the Natus website about it. And let's all support the next generation of storytellers in honor of Sarah. Roz and I are birthday buddies, too. We have the same birthday, so we always talk about being birthday buddies. And then finally, thank you to my family, my wonderful husband, Stephen, and our daughters, Madeline and Charlotte. Stephen was the glue that held the family together through all the demands of my crazy job. And Madeline and Charlotte, you guys are the lights of our lives, and we are so proud of the young women that you've become. You know, since I retired about a year ago, I've had a chance to kind of step back and think about my tenure as news director. And what strikes me is two major events that kind of bookend that tenure. The first was 9/11, and I was acting news director at the time. Emily and all the general managers for the ABC stations were in New York that morning, and there was really not a lot of people at the station. And I remember I was driving in that morning, the bright, beautiful blue sky, and my pager goes off. Remember those big pagers that had the electronic message that would scroll through? And I couldn't believe what I was reading. And the first thing I did was turn on news radio to hear the latest live. Then, of course, I arrived in the newsroom and saw the horrifying images live as they unfolded. And then fast forward 20 years later to the pandemic, another time filled with chaos and uncertainty. We all had to figure out new ways to do our jobs and not really knowing how the virus would affect us at work or affect our families. But when I think about what's common between those two events and many others in between, the fact that news showed up. Local news was there, we were a lifeline, we were delivering information, the latest information for our audiences. So tonight, I want to raise my glass, not just to the fellow honorees tonight, but also to those of you in Chicago's newsrooms and those of you who aspire to be in Chicago's newsrooms. Your work is so important. Your audiences rely on you for the big stories, the not so big stories, for the triumphs and the tragedies. You're there doing the work every day. So please don't forget how important your work is and know that it is valued. So thank you again for this award. It really is a highlight of my career.
All right, Jiggets family, we're coming. Our final honoree of the evening is trailblazing sports broadcasting superstar, Dan Jiggets. Over the years, Dan has covered a wide variety of sports for multiple radio and television outlets, and he has dedicated his life to also helping others who came from underprivileged backgrounds. Here to present Dan Jiggets is his daughter, Kristen Jiggets Kenny.
Okay, so now it is the end of the night, and I told Lauren if I make my speech about 10 minutes, and she said, please don't do that. But I've been waiting for the mic for about 42 years in this family, and you never give the youngest child the mic. But my son and my nephew are here tonight, and it's about 2 hours past their bedtime, so Lauren, I promise to stay within the 2 minutes. I am so happy to be here to celebrate all of the amazing inductees, and of course my dad, Dan Jiggets. A 1993 Chicago Tribune article by Jim O'Donnell opened with, quote, "If the Spin Masters imaging the world of sport ever decide to begin the mass production of a new breed of goodwill ambassador, they might want to focus on the engagingly textured Dan Jiggets as their prototype," end quote. I love this article because it so perfectly sums up my father. He is a living embodiment of the American dream. He displayed grit, perseverance, and resilience in his over 3-decade television career. He tells this great story about wanting to work for CBS, and that Peter Lund of CBS in New York told him that if he flew himself out on his own dime to New York City, they would give him an audition. He flew himself to New York, auditioned by calling some random game that he said was really bizarre and sort of unforgettable. And after the audition, he asked how he did, and they said, quote, "We need to have lunch." And so began a 12-year stint with CBS Sports. Lauren and I have often heard from former interns or newcomers to the business that he was instrumental in helping them and guiding them into the business. Chicago Sports Network's Jason Goff reflected that Dan, quote, "was and still is an inspiration to myself and many others. He guided me at a very young age in an industry that is less than forgiving. The foundation of who I am professionally is in part largely to him. I am proud to have worked alongside such a great man." And it doesn't matter if it was a young, up-and-coming broadcaster like Jason, a seasoned cameraman, a janitor, a producer, a GM, a security guard, or a star athlete. My dad prioritizes the human connection. He is the definition of a people person. This is not a business that often rewards the nice guy, but in this case, he prevailed. I have often thought of the famous Maya Angelou quote, "People will forget what you said, people will forget what you did, but they will never forget how you made them feel." And like O'Donnell wrote in the article over 30 years ago in the Trib, he is truly a goodwill ambassador. And at the end of this video, we have a surprise message for Dan from one of his first colleagues and oldest friends. So enjoy.
In the borough of Brooklyn, New York, a future football star, Harvard scholar, and beloved sports broadcaster came into this world. His name was Dan Jiggets. The youngest of 4 boys, he would carry the weight of family legacy and drive for excellence far beyond his place of birth.
I mean, because I watched my mom and my dad work themselves to death. And they always told me that we're doing this so you don't have to do it.
Dan's journey shifted when the Jiggets family left Brooklyn for the small town of Quogue, Long Island, searching for safety and opportunity. Dan dealt with hardships, including losing both parents at a young age. Even before that tragic loss, Dan had been focused on academics and football, but his father never got the chance to see his success.
Never saw me play a game. And my freshman year, I made all league and all conference. And some of the guys he worked with said, "Boy, your son's a really good football player."
Both of his parents gave Dan a strong work ethic. His achievements on the high school football field led to lots of college interest, but Dan turned down a college scholarship to Ohio State in order to attend Harvard, just as his mother wished.
She says, "No, you're gonna go to the Ivy League. It's either gonna be Harvard, Yale, or Princeton. That's the way that it is." She says, I like those schools, and I think they'd be great for you."
At Harvard, Dan broke barriers, becoming the first black football captain in school history. The NFL came calling, and in 1976, Dan suited up for the Chicago Bears. There he played side by side with a rising star, Walter Payton.
The Bears ended up drafting me with a pick they got from Cleveland. And I was always thankful to Papa Bear about that. He wouldn't let me go to Cleveland.
After football, Dan transitioned into broadcasting, becoming one of Chicago's most respected sports voices. Before making his debut nationally, Working for the NFL on CBS, Dan started off interning for famed Chicago sports broadcaster Chet Coppock during the Bears' offseason at WMAQ. Dan brought his sharp mind and booming presence to WFLD, WMAQ, WBBM, Fox Sportsnet, and Comcast Sportsnet Chicago.
We liked that. We liked that because I could watch him on TV. You know, there's Dad, and I liked being able to watch him, and it was fun. And he traveled a lot.
While at CBS, Dan and veteran sports journalist James Brown formed the first African-American team to call a network TV game. Dan also reported on the NFL sidelines for many years for sports and helped launch Comcast Sportsnet in Chicago back in 2004. Dan's second act in TV was just as impactful as his playing career. He wasn't just reporting on the stars, he was friends with them.
I was at a golf tournament with Michael Jordan. Michael Jordan came up to him, was shaking his hand. I'm thinking oh my God, I'm starstruck, but he's not. And I think that's just I think that's part of the reason why players felt so comfortable speaking with him when he went into media.
From Walter Payton to Michael Jordan, Dan rubbed elbows with sports royalty. Dan was not focused on being starstruck. Instead, he saw their human side, which might have been the reason why Walter Payton asked Dan to tell his story when his health started to fail.
I think that's part of the reason why people wanted to talk with him. I think that's part of the reason why Walter, when he got sick, wanted to make sure that he would talk to my dad, because he's someone that cares about people and doesn't necessarily care about status.
Even off camera, Dan Jiggets is larger than life, a devoted husband to his wife Karen of more than 40 years, a proud father of 2 daughters, and a wise grandfather to 4 energetic boys. He is a man whose impact reaches far beyond the field or the screen. His daughter Kristen says passing on important life lessons to all of his grandchildren is his new job in life.
Yeah, I think definitely integrity and how to be somebody who's going to stand up for what you believe in, and also somebody who's going to stand up for yourself.
From Long Island to Soldier Field, from Harvard Yard to every major Chicago newsroom, Dan Jiggets has always answered the call. And today, the Silver Circle proudly honors a man whose legacy is built not just on accomplishments, but on character.
Hey Dan, congratulations on the Silver Circle honor. You are certainly very deserving. I just have to share this with everyone there to show you how accommodating and nurturing Dan Jiggets was to me early on in my career. I know people think I played football because of the size and girth. No, Dan Jiggets helped to teach me football. Our first game that CBS allowed me to do, thank goodness, it was only being televised back to the television truck and the local Piggly Wiggly around the corner, because I was told to keep it simple, James. Call a clean game. I go through the first half and I'm thinking football is not that difficult. Third quarter, I said, you know what? There's the quarterback. He hands off to the running back. He's at the 50. He's at the 55. He's tackled at the 60-yard line. My producer said, JB, go to commercial. There's no such thing as a 60-yard line. I compounded things by looking up at the scoreboard, which I was told not to do, look at the TV monitor, because the scoreboard and the clock could be wrong. I said, we're going to step aside and take a timeout with 8 minutes and 99 seconds left in the third period of play. When we came back from commercial, Dan Jiggets covered for me. He said, for those of you who heard JB say there are 8 minutes and 99 seconds left in the third period of play, he just wanted to see if you could do the mathematical conversion to realize it was 9 minutes and 39 seconds left. I got another game because Dan covered for me. He's been covering for me ever since. Dan, congratulations. God bless you. You're very deserving.
Oh, thank you all very much. I'm using a walker tonight because, after, 10 years of playing professional football, banging up your hips, 3 hip replacement surgeries, back surgeries, and all the rest of that stuff. So I'm a little broken down right now. I figured if I made it to 71 years, though, it was a real blessing, and indeed it was. You know, in watching this video, and it brings me back to when I first came out here. I left New York and drove out here with a dream. And Chicago, the Bears, and this city, and the people in this city made that dream come true. After playing football and during the off seasons, you know, back then, we actually had to have an off-season job. So I worked in the banking business and went to business school at night. And after 3 or 4 years of doing that, I decided one time maybe I'd try a little television. So thanks to Chet Kopic over at Channel 5, it was 1982. And by the way, it wasn't all gracious on Chet's part. He needed the information that I had from the NFL Players Association. I understood a deal's a deal. But when you saw the video there of Reggie Jackson and me talking, that was the first live shot I did on Channel 5. And it wasn't supposed to be me, it was supposed to be Chet. But Reggie refused to do the interview with Chet, so Chet turned around to me and says, "Looks like you're on, big guy." And I took it from there, and I said, well, you know, this is something I really like and enjoy. And from that point on, it was trying to find an opportunity. And I thank, you know, so many people in this room here tonight, and so many people in the television business for giving me the opportunity. Starting at Channel 2 and moving on to Channel 32. You know, I did some time, obviously, with NBC, and I think I worked with just about everybody in this town. And I'm so thankful and grateful to all of the people who have done so much to help me make it to tonight. Because you do not do it in this business, and you do not succeed without the help of all the people that have produced your shows, your camera people, your editors, all the people behind the scenes, the directors, and all the producers that you had an opportunity with, the executive producers, as well as when you look up front, up top, you know, some people up there had to believe in you as well, and certainly that happened for me with a bunch of news directors and assistant news directors who gave me the opportunity. You know, it's interesting, I was talking with these young people here tonight, and I told them the most important thing is, you know, number one, get ready to roll, because it's going to be a lot of work. But don't forget to enjoy yourself in the process. And I think that that's something that I did to a great extent, whether it was covering synchronized swimming championships, gymnastics, you know, you can talk about motorcycle races that I covered, NBA basketball, NFL, college football. It took me around the world, and it was a real blessing to have that opportunity presented to me. And I tried to take full advantage of it. I tried to do a great job at it without ever trying to you know, be more than what the broadcast was. Because so many people sometimes get out in front of things, and in this day and age right now, you see a whole lot of that. You know, I was thinking back about who helped me in this business and who stood by me. And I want to tell you something, a quick story. Today, May 2nd, is our 45th wedding anniversary. So my lovely wife, Karen, and she has put up with a lot. Me traveling the globe and running here and running there, and the whole time she's running a household and taking care of 2 daughters, Lauren and Kristen. And now she gets the opportunity to see me every day, and I think she wants me to go back on the road. But I'm so fortunate and blessed. I have 2 grandsons that are here tonight, and I have 4 overall, and they're going to keep me busy for the rest of my life, I'm sure. I'm trying to get them into some sports, but I want to make sure that they follow in the you know, the Jiggets line of making sure you educate yourself before anything else, because that's what's the most important. You had the opportunity, take full advantage of it. And that's what I reminded these young people of tonight, is you know, when you go to college, make sure you do everything you can to be positive and work hard, and you will succeed. So with that having been said, I thank you all so much, and I thank the Academy for this award. And I thank you also, all these folks out here. And Roz Varon is here tonight. And Roz was, this is another side story. Roz and I first met as we were doing auditions for Channel 7. And Joey Ahern wanted to hire me, but the guys at Channel 2 wouldn't let me come over. That's a quick story. But, you know, we were together then, and She's just a wonderful lady, and I congratulate her on her efforts and her success in the business that she's in there now. And other than that, I'd like to say thank you to everybody here and all the people at all the stations that I worked at who have come over and said hello. And like I always told my guys, Steve Mandel, all I need is a microphone and a check, and I'm there. And thanks so much to all of you for coming out tonight. Thank you very much. God bless you.
We want to remind all the honorees, don't leave without checking the table to make sure, besides the medal, there's a plaque that goes with it. Please take that with you tonight. Just a wonderful, wonderful evening. One last round of applause. Thanks for joining us. Good night, everyone. Thank you.